In this video, I'm going to show you everything that you need to know about Navy Federal Credit Union. So take this as a masterclass to get the most out of your membership. What's up, winners? My name is Nam. If you're new here, welcome. Here we talk all things personal finance and credit. Start out by subscribing so you don't miss out on any future videos. So first, let's talk about how to join. The most basic and general way to get into this credit union is that you need to have some sort of military affiliation. This could mean that you're an active duty, retired, or a veteran that has served in any one of the branches of the armed forces. Now, if you were in the delay entry program, also known as the DEP, which also means that you were a poolee that is committed to join the military in the upcoming year, you could also join Navy Fed as well. Next are those who are DoD officer candidates or people who are in the ROTC program. So if you're in college getting set up to join the military right afterwards, you can also become a member. Now, let's talk about family members. You can find the whole list on NavyFederal.org, but I'll give you a complete breakdown so you don't have to visit for yourself. If you have family members who are currently members of Navy Federal or have an affiliation with the military, this can also be an entry for you to join them. So this typically means if your parents, grandparents, spouses, siblings, children, grandchildren, and any other household members that are Navy Federal members, you can have them sponsor you. Now let's dig just a little bit deeper onto this because this is where a hack can happen and it makes you a little bit more eligible to join. So based on what I said already, you kind of get the gist. You gotta have like some sort of blood relatives or close siblings or family members that can sponsor you. The thing about this is that they currently don't even have to be a Navy Federal member for you to join. You can actually use their credentials to allow you to become a member. Now, whenever you attempt to join Navy Federal online, they will get you a list of things or documents that you need from your family member. Now, I don't condone lying whatsoever, but there is word on the street that if you have a family member who's no longer with us or a grandpa who is in the military but doesn't have any documents showing that they serve, then you could probably still be able to join without proving any documentation. But it is always best to have documentation ready just in case of an audit or an automatic shutdown, but your mileage may vary whether or not they will ask. Additionally, people who are DoD civilians can join as well. This means that U.S. government employees assigned to DoD installations, DoD contractors, and DoD civilian retirees are eligible. Another way to get into Navy Fed is that if you live with someone who's already a member. Now, let's just say that you have a roommate who is a member. You can piggyback off of their membership as long as you can show that you live at the same address. So once you're in, setting an account is a breeze. So when you first ask to set up a checkings account, you can fund that account with a credit card up to $250. This is a pretty handy feature, especially for those who are trying to get some extra credit card points and just trying to get started quickly. But just make note that it is possible that the credit card that you fund your account with can be labeled as a cash advance. So it is best to set your cash advance limit to 0 to prevent this. So Navy Federal, just like most credit unions out there, they rely on relationship banking. So there are a few factors that go into approvals for certain things like credit cards. Aside from your personal credit scores, they do have this thing called an internal score. So what an internal score is, it's kind of like Navy Fed's own personal version of a credit score that is used whenever you apply for the credit cards. This typically ranges anywhere between 100 to 450 points. I've made a video on this particular topic before of how you can increase your internal score, which you can check out up here, but I'll give you a quick rundown of what you need to know to get the highest possible score available. So in a nutshell, the more products and services that you have through Navy Federal, the higher probability that your internal score would be. So for instance, if you open up a checkings and savings account, the balance that you have in these accounts can factor into your internal score. There are some people out there who use Navy Federal so they can just get loans and credit cards, and there's really nothing wrong with that. The thing is that if your own personal credit score is on the higher side, like 720 and up, then you really shouldn't have any problem getting approved for any type of lending, since it's really going to rely more on your credit profile and your debt to income ratio. But if your credit profile is a little bit on the thinner side, meaning that you really don't have many credit cards, loans, or even new credit, you're going to have to try a little bit harder just to get approved for certain things. So with that being said, it'll behoove you to have a balance in your checkings and savings account, at least a few $100s or so, just to show that you have some skin in the game in their credit union. What will even give you a better look is that if you have direct deposit set up. This way they know that they will get constant deposits on a weekly, bi-weekly, or even on a monthly basis. As you are probably aware, most banks and credit unions make money by lending out your money to other people. So if they are getting a constant stream of money from you, you would have a better internal score going that route. Another thing to consider is possibly getting a pledge loan. Pledge loans works best when you have a thin credit profile and you don't have any installment lines on your credit report currently reporting. So it is a loan that's fully secured by your savings account. So an amount is equal to the loan is put on hold. When you pay off the loan, that amount is released and more funds become available to you. No credit check is needed to qualify since it is using your own funds. The goal is to report monthly on-time payments and help you build a credit profile or score. For example, let's just say that you have $500 in your savings account and you want to use it as a secure loan amount. When you apply, they will put on hold that $500 and then they will loan you an additional $500. Each time you make a payment, they will deduct that amount from the $500 hold. A couple days later, you get that payment amount released back to you. So by paying a big chunk, you're actually doing 3 things: making your next few payments ahead of time, ensuring on-time monthly payments, and lowering your overall amounts owed, which will lower your interest that you would have to pay. Before moving on, I would like to mention that if your credit score is not where you want it to be, I do have a software that can help you with your credit repair for a fraction of a cost of what you would pay an agency. It's called Credit Rehab Pro. It allows you to easily dispute as many accounts as you want across all 3 bureaus. In a matter of seconds, you can create dispute letters specific towards your situation and print them out at home. What's more is if an account wasn't deleted, the software suggests a new strategy for additional disputes. You see, Credit Rehab Pro is just not another tool. It's like a personal credit coach that guides you through the entire step in the right order. And the best part is you have full control. You can repair your credit at your own pace in your own time. I do have a link down in the description if you want to check it out. So moving on to what else can actually increase your credit score, it's just by getting credit cards with Navy Federal. This is probably what most people start off with, aside from getting a checking and savings account. So if you're not aware, you can have a maximum of 3 credit cards with Navy Federal at any given time, and they can give you a maximum credit limit of up to $80,000 across all 3. So they make money off the interchange fees and any debts that you keep on a monthly basis. Next is any other additional products that can make Navy Federal more money, like a savings account. They have plenty of them, such as accounts geared towards emergencies, college funds, and investment accounts. The next thing that goes into your internal score is your length of membership. So there's really no hack to increase your length of membership with Navy Federal. This is just something that will take time and it just has to take its course. So for me personally, I actually signed up for Navy Federal a long time ago when I was actually in the Marine Corps. But the thing is that I really never took advantage of Navy Federal since I was already banking with USAA, which was another military bank. But even though I did not use Navy Federal, I do have a history with them since I had an account open for such a long time. So here are some other things that I should mention about internal scores. So the most common way to receive an internal score is by receiving it in the mail once you get approved or denied from a credit card. Sometimes you can ask a customer service rep through the online secure message portal, but the majority of the time, they'll just tell you what your score was on the previous application. So now let's move on some cards and credit card insights. If you're ever in need of a replacement debit card, you can just head over to any branch and they can quickly print one out for you. Now with Navy Federal, they have this tool called the pre-qualification tool. While I do love Navy Federal has this tool built in, it is pretty well known that it can be kind of unreliable. So even if you do use this tool and you don't pre-qualify for the credit card that you want, but if you believe that your credit score is in good standing and you don't have that many hard inquiries, then I would just pick the card that you would want that has the most benefits and just apply for it. In the case if you are denied, you can apply right away for the secure card using the same credit pull. So with that being said, even if you're not a fan of the N-Secure card, you can probably use the same hard inquiry on a different credit card application within 30 days if you think your credit score has changed since then. So with Navy Federal, you can actually decrease your interest rate. So with every Navy Federal credit card, after 1 year of ownership, you can request for a reduced interest rate or APR on the card. Now, if you are a wise credit card user, you really never have to worry about interest rates, but maybe if you have the Platinum card or you need like a short-term loan and don't want to pay more interest than you have to, I would highly suggest sending a secure message to Navy Federal and request to see what they can do. I actually did this not too long ago, and I just sent a message saying that, hey, I've just seen if you can reduce my APR on my flagship credit card, and they said that they're more than happy to do so. They also said that this change is not permanent and it may increase in the future. It's just one of those instances where you don't know unless you ask. For those who want to maximize the amount of cashback that they have, one often overlooked benefit is the member deals section of Navy Federal. If you're familiar with Rakuten or other shopping portals, this is kind of very similar to that. It's just Navy Federal's version of it. So for instance, if you earn 2% cashback with the flagship card, you can earn additional cashback at any one of their participating retailers. This way, you can stack rewards with your credit card. Now let's talk about credit limit increases. You can request for a credit limit increase after 91 days or 3 billing cycles on any particular card and then every 6 months thereafter. Just mark your calendar or set up a reminder to remember. So this is quite simple. The best way to actually do this is just to do it through the mobile app, because if you were to call in, there is a high chance that this may result in a hard inquiry. But if you were to do this through the mobile app, it would just only be a soft pull. So if your current credit limit is $20,000, I would just suggest requesting for $28,000 since that should happen instantaneously. And if you don't qualify for the whole $8,000, they could always counter, which is better than nothing. Now, let's just say that you got approved for a credit card, but the credit limit isn't anything too spectacular and you wish it could be a little bit higher. There is something that you can do which is called a credit limit reconsideration request. Essentially, you're just asking Navy Federal to manually review the hard pull data that got you approved for that credit card and have them reconsider your starting credit limit. The best way to do this is by sending a secure message through their portal. So you want to send a message telling them about how you recently got approved for a credit card with XYZ amount. You want to mention that you are hoping to get a higher credit limit and want to know if they would reconsider the initial starting limit, since you will need a larger credit limit to support your furnishing of your home or something that really requires a lot of money. Now, this is not a guarantee that this will work, but there have been many data points of people finding success from this strategy. So now let's move on to talk about auto credit limit increases. This is one feature that you may want to think about turning off. The way to actually turn this feature off is by calling customer service and asking them that you do not want any automatic credit limit increases. Now, you might be asking, why is this a bad thing? The thing about this is that when they increase it automatically, it most likely will be a much lower amount than what you wanted. If you were to do it manually, you can get a greater amount rather than just letting the computer system adjust it for you. On the other hand, if you just want to set it and forget it, a great way of getting higher auto credit limit increases is by updating your personal information such as your income. But again, if you were to go the automatic increase route, once the automatic increase has been applied, you would have to wait another 6 months before you can request for another one if you want to do it manually. This is something that not many people know about, but credit limit reallocation is possible with Navy Federal. What a credit limit reallocation is just moving a credit limit from one card to another. So to do this with Navy Federal, it is a little bit more difficult compared to like Chase or American Express, where you just call up customer service and ask them to readjust your limits. The only way you can do this with Navy Fed is for balance transfer purposes. Let's just say that you have two Navy Federal credit cards. You have the flagship card and the platinum card. You would send a secure message and ask them if you can transfer, say, $10,000 to your platinum card and decrease the flagship by $10,000 since you're looking to do a balance transfer to the platinum card from an outside bank. In this case, they would allow you to do a reallocation of credit limits, but if you wanted to just adjust your credit limits without any specific reason, then most likely they would just tell you no. So with all of this credit card talk, a common question that I get asked quite often is, which credit card should I start off with? And to answer this, it is very subjective and it really depends on your health of your credit profile and your debt to income ratio. So if your credit needs work or if it's on the lower end of the spectrum, then it may be best to start with the N Rewards Secure Card so you can continue to build that relationship with Navy Federal. But that's usually not my first pick since you can have this as a backup in case your application fails for the other credit cards. When most people start off with Navy Federal, they tend to open up the Cash Rewards, Go Rewards, or Platinum since more or less it is their entry-level credit cards. The More Rewards American Express is considered a mid-tier card and may not be the easiest for people who are just getting started with or rebuilding their credit to get approved for, but it is a great everyday rewards card. Now, their top of the line creme de la creme credit card would be their flagship. This one is typically the most difficult one to get for most people, but it does come with a minimum approval amount of at least $5,000 because it is a Visa signature card, but you got to be aware that there is an annual fee of $49. But nonetheless, it is a great travel card and you get 2% cash back on everything else. All right, so now let's dive into a controversial topic that most Navy Federal enthusiasts have probably heard about, which is the late night hack. So here's the deal. The late night hack involves applying for a Navy Federal credit card during those wee hours, triggering an automatic credit application process. The theory is that your odds for approval would be much higher. Now, this thing has been circulating for years, with some people vouching for it and others calling it a myth. Personally, I don't think that there is a late night hack. It's kind of silly to think that one of the largest credit unions wouldn't have a computer algorithm in place to process applications all times of the day. In fact, Navy Federal even released a video debunking the whole late night or midnight hack for credit card applications. Now let's move on to something that's very interesting to Navy Federal, which is the ability to liquidate credit cards. The way to actually do this is by getting access to their Go prepaid card. This card is actually intended for budgeting and teaching responsible spending habits, but this card allows you to fund it with a Navy Federal credit card. And the funding transaction is processed as a regular purchase transaction rather than a cash advance. So one thing to make note of is that this will only work with Navy Federal Visa or MasterCards only. So here's the deal about the Go prepaid card. You can withdraw up to $600 at the ATM and spend $3,000 per day for point of sale purchases. You could also load this card up to $10,000 and you can actually have 5 of these cards. So if you run the math on this with the limits that I just broke down for you, you can just multiply it by 5 and you can have a lot of liquidity. This is the only way to get cash off of your Navy Federal credit cards without labeling it as a cash advance. Again, just keep in mind that you gotta have an exit strategy when taking cash out of credit cards, since this money is something that you would have to pay back before the due date to avoid interest. So now let's move on to their checking lines of credit. In a sense, this is kind of like a personal line of credit. So at the current moment, there is a maximum limit that you can get, which is $3,000 for non-active duty or civilians and $5,000 for military. Based on the data points, people mostly start off with $500 as a line of credit. To actually apply for the checking lines of credit, you have to call them up and request for an application. But you gotta be careful since they will pull from your TransUnion credit report. In my personal opinion, I really don't think this is worth it since you probably could get better odds of getting higher credit limits if you decide to apply for another credit card. If you were to max out all of your credit cards, which is 3, then this may be feasible, but again, with the low credit limit, I really don't see it worth it to waste one of your inquiries. In addition, once you get approved for this account, it will just show up as a revolving line of credit on your personal credit report. And this can count against your Chase 524 rule if you are a Chase fan. So now let's switch things up and talk about loans. So the first one we will cover will be auto loans. I absolutely love the loan products because you generally can find some of the best rates out there and it's pretty straightforward. This is a loan product that usually does not require any proof of income or any other documentation. But again, always be prepared to show them in case you do get audited. But these are very rare instances. The majority of the time, they will just send you a check or you can just go pick it up at the branch without requiring any extra documentation. Now let's talk about the personal loans. This is something that is very beneficial for anyone who's a Navy Federal member who's in need of money fast. With a personal loan, you can get as much as $50,000 instantaneously deposited into your checkings account. So all you really have to do is just apply. They will ask for basic information like your current employment, income, and your contact information. Then they will ask you how much you want and your term length. But the beauty about this is that you don't have to provide any proof of income. Now, there might be some rare instances that you may, so it is always good not to lie in your applications, but just to have them ready. But for the majority of cases out there, proof of income is typically not asked. So when applying for this loan, this will usually result in a TransUnion credit pull. And once they get approved, the money will get deposited into your checkings account instantaneously once you sign it. It is pretty straightforward and seamless. One thing to keep in mind about personal loans is that these types of products are usually the most difficult to get approved for since there's no collateral like an auto loan. So for instance, if you don't make any payments on your car, they could just come and take it and sell it and get some of their money back. With a personal loan, it's just money that is directly deposited into your account. You can spend whatever you like and there's really no way of them to get that money back. That's why these are a little bit more difficult to get approved for and you want to have at least tier 1 credit and a good relationship with Navy Fed to get the best approval odds. Now let's talk about the home improvement loan. This loan is specifically for those who want to get quick cash to finance home improvement or repair projects. So if you're working on a fix and flip or whatever it is, and you need some extra cash to do what you need to do, then this could be a better option rather than a personal loan because you can get terms all the way up to 180 months. Now, of course, be aware that the longer the terms are, the more interest that you would have to pay. But if you need some extra time, more so than a personal loan, then this could be a great option. Also, there is no collateral required, and these have a minimums of anywhere between $25,000 to $30,000, so you can get much more money for home repairs compared to a personal loan. So before applying for any loans, you would want to log into the website and click on the offers tab to see if there's any offers that are assigned to you. If there are no offers, you can always try calling Navy Federal or send a secure message requesting any discounts that you might be eligible for a specific product that you are looking to inquire about. Now, if you're currently overseas or on active duty, make sure you provide customer service with the proof of your request. So here are some discounts that you can naturally get. If you've been a member for at least 25 years, you qualify for a 0.25% interest rate deduction on all of your consumer loans. Additionally, you qualify for 0.25% in dividend increase on a newly purchase fixed rate certificate or IRA. You can also get a discount if you are a senior enlisted active duty member. They do have a senior enlisted program that provides a 1% discount on consumer loans for any of those who are E7 and above. So in order to enroll in this program, you either would have to call customer service or visit one of their branches. The great thing about this program is that it can be used on all of your new consumer loans or refinancing any of your existing ones. But be ready to show proof of rank such as military orders or earning statements. All of those documents can be sent to this email down below. Now let's move on to talk about Navy Federal business products. Navy Federal does offer business support, but you have to become a business member first before obtaining any of their business products. So you would still have to apply for business credit cards, loans, and lines of credit like a traditional application. You also don't have to wait any specific amount of time to apply for these products. However, Navy Federal themselves says that businesses have to be established for at least a minimum of 2 years for loans. So first things first, you're gonna need to have a business membership. You and all owners must be members of Navy Federal, and you need to have your accounts to be in good standing. You would then need to sign into your personal Navy Federal account to access the business membership application form. And from there, you would just fill in all the fields. Just make sure that you compile all of the appropriate documents for your business type and everything that you need to reference before you proceed. Then lastly, you would need to call this number within the next 2 business days once completing all of the above between 9 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. This whole process can take up to an hour. Then you need to deposit anywhere between $250 to $255 depending on your business at the time of the account opening. The type of documentation that is needed will vary based on your business that's found on their website. So the great thing about their business products is that the majority of them do not require any specific amount of time of being a member before you apply. But their website does state that businesses must be established for at least 2 years for loans. You need to complete an online application if the option exists in your business login, or download the paper application and submit it via the secure portal. Now, if you are applying for a loan that's being used for equipment or vehicles, then you must provide a buyer's order for the items prior to applying for the loan, and this must be within 30 days. But Navy Federal, they can fund up to 100% of new vehicles and up to 90% of used vehicles. This is extremely powerful, especially if you're trying to take advantage of Section 179 and bonus depreciation. But it is possible Navy Federal may ask you to fund a percentage depending on the vehicle's value and your approval amount. Commercial vehicles such as heavy duty or special use vehicles such as semis, trailers, can receive financing up to 80% for new vehicles and 75% for used. Now, there is a hack that's going around where you can convert your personal auto loan into a business auto loan. But this is not as straightforward as saying like, hey, I want to change this auto loan into a business loan. However, you can apply for a refinance, which will result in another hard inquiry under a new or used auto loan rate. So in a nutshell, you're just refinancing into a business auto loan. Navy Federal does have one business credit card, which consists of the Gold BIz Rewards Visa or MasterCard, which can give you a maximum of $25,000 of a limit. One thing to keep in mind about business membership is that if you have more than one member, they each have to apply and will have to have their credit pulled. Also, if you are thinking about hiring your kids or already have a minor attached, Navy Federal will not give you any financing. Now, let's talk about inquiries. Each Navy Federal business credit product will pull from Experian. But on the bright side, all of Navy Federal business products do not report to the personal bureaus unless you default. All right, folks, so this was all of the sauce that you need to know for Navy Federal. If you think I missed something, let me know in the comments and spread the love. This community is built on sharing information for all of us so we can get access to the lending that we need. Navy Federal is one of the best credit unions out there, and for good reason. So this is definitely a place that you want to be able to maximize your relationship and the products. Again, if you need some help repairing your credit, I do have a software that allows you to do it yourself. Link in the description. If you want to learn more about Navy Federal or credit, come check out these videos over here.